you'll beware. You're in for a scare. Of course, this is the October podcast here on Patreon, the scariest month of them all. And if I'm going to talk scary stuff, who else do I bring on but the host of the number one horror podcast and the number one wrestling podcast on Pornhub, Mr. Matt Ritter. Hi, Matt.
The Warden Matt Ritter, the patron saint of podcasting.
Yeah. Listen, everyone's got too many nicknames. I don't do my
remember
own.
yours
Listen, okay.
every week, sometimes 2 to 3 times a week.
Yeah, remember that time we were like, oh yeah, we'll see you on Saturday, and then I did a show with you on Monday, and I was like, just kidding. You want to do this now? 2 days later, it's fine. It's fine. We're here. We're hanging out. We're gonna tell some scary stories. Because that's what this is about. Because I asked you.
Is that what we're doing?
That's what we're doing.
Oh, okay.
We talked about this.
When?
That would have been Sunday night.
Nah, I don't remember that.
Nah, I really did. It was after, see, we did a Getting Offed episode.
What's Getting Offed?
This podcast that you do, that horror podcast I mentioned earlier. We just did episode, I think, 18, 19, one of those numbers, talking about fantasy booking and the Halloween series. You can go check it out.
That show that we almost named The Gory Hole.
I'm so happy we did not. I'm so happy. If it would have been named that, I don't know if I could be on every week.
Why?
That's pushing it.
The Gory Hole, not the Glory Hole. I'm not asking you to come to my glory hole every week. The Gory Hole.
Excuse me, sorry. I would do neither of those things.
Gore.
I know. Gore. Yes. Gore.
Mm-hmm.
But this isn't about gory holes or getting offed. This is about stuff that scares us. Because you have said many a time on a few different things with me that your mom used to scare the absolute shit out of you as a child. And now here you are in all your horror glory. Horror gory, if you will. There you go. Beautiful. So do you wanna tell a story? First time, like, you distinctly remember her, like, scaring you.
That's rough. So we lived in, like, growing up, like from first grade through like my junior year of high school, we lived in the same house, and it was a house that was in our family. My great-great-grandfather had owned it. He died. My grandmother got it. My dad bought it from her, and it had been in our house, or in our family, I think, like 100 years. I think it used to be like an old onion farm in the middle of fucking Illinois. There was a barn when we bought it that we tore down. My understanding is some land was sold off well before, and like people built houses on it, like all this shit.
Okay.
And a lot of weird shit happened in that house that I don't know if it was my mom fucking with me or if it was just like, because like I'm sure we'll talk about ghosts and ghost experiences tonight as well, but like, so there was a piano in the house. Like we did a shit ton of work to that house. Like, my parents are doers. They always have to have a project, right?
Yep.
Which is why I have a hard time thinking like a lot of this was my mom, because most of the time when this happened, either my mom and dad were outside doing stuff like gardening or working on a project, something outside, or my dad was like at work and my mom was whatever. And I distinctly remember as a child, like a little child, being in the house and hearing that piano like being played, and then coming downstairs to like, hey, what, like, mom, what are you doing? And like, no, my mom's outside, and literally it was me, my mom, my dad, and my sister. Like those were the only people in the house.
Yeah.
And it's not my little sister's younger than me, so she wasn't getting up on there, and like you'd know if a little kid was playing a piano.
Yeah.
And like neither of my parents were in the house. I also distinctly remember Um, we had converted like the upstairs into bedrooms and all of that. That's where my room was. And I remember being upstairs playing in my room and hearing someone call my name and like coming downstairs and like looking around. And I'm like, where? And like again, everyone's outside. And like it wasn't like I heard Matt, so I like went to go respond, like,
Yeah.
and nobody's in the fucking house. So like, could that have been my mom coming in and fucking with me? Yeah, but I doubt it because normally when she liked to pull the shit, it was like there was something going on. There was a reason for it. It wasn't just random.
Mhm.
But also in that house, my mom collected, or I don't know if she collected them for my sister or what, but like there were a bunch of porcelain fucking dolls on the stairs,
Yep.
and we hated these fucking things. Like we felt like their eyes were on us. I would like pull the hats down over their face so they couldn't look at me. Because there was like one that wasn't in a case that was just like sitting there, and I'd pull the hat down so it couldn't look at me. My mom would always like move the hat back. Um, what else? Oh, so again, really, really fucking old house, and my room and my sister's room are at the very upstairs. My parents
Mhm.
were on the main floor, and my mom had this. I wouldn't say life size. Like I don't think it was as tall as like an adult, but it was bigger than me as a child. Stuffed clown, and the thing that scares me or scared me the most growing up has always been clowns because watched Stephen King's It from a very young age. I've been watching
Mhm.
horror movies kind of against my will for the majority of my life. And then eventually I embraced it and love them, and now I'm gonna do the same thing to my daughter. But it had bells on the toes,
Oh,
and she put it in a rocking chair.
that that's just rude.
So between Poltergeist and Stephen King's It, I'm fucking terrified of this thing. And it was in my room. And I remember, like, again, it's an old house. There could have been a draft, but I remember the fucking rocking chair rocking and hearing the bells jingle, and I'd freak out and I grab the thing and I throw it in the fucking closet and I close the closet. I get up the next day, I go to school, I come home, it's back in the fucking rocking chair. And I know it's my mom that put it back in the fucking rocking chair every single time. Like went up and did shit and put it back, but like used to freak me the fuck out. I hated jingles. I really fucking did.
Jingles.
Well, yeah, because he had bells on his toes, so they called them
That's
jingles.
I hate that. Everything about that. I hate it. Ugh.
But that's really kind of like the earliest memory of like not really fucking with me, but also like she knew I was terrified of that thing and like kept it in my room anyway.
Yeah.
Earliest memory of her fucking with me, but also like earliest memory of because we've talked a lot about like seeing ghosts and things like that and blah 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 and
Mhm.
experiences. The house that I lived in prior to this, when I first moved into this house and I went on the ghost hunt because I heard someone say something to me. Like maybe I just hear voices in my head like motherfucking Randy Orton. That could be it.
Okay, Randy. Maybe.
But something like it's not a constant thing. It's just every now and then. I don't know.
I definitely a lot of the time hear my name being called and no one says it. I even ask, I'm like, anybody say my name? Everyone's like,
You're
no.
not supposed to do that.
Oh well. If
Well,
I'm
I
walking, I'm
mean, if you're
walking.
asking alive people if someone said your name, that's
Yeah,
different.
they're
What I'm
alive.
saying is you're not supposed to respond to the voice, which I didn't learn till way later, obviously. Like as a child, you don't know that. That's not information you have on hand. You're
Well,
like, hey,
yeah,
if you hear someone call your name, don't answer back unless you know who it is,
yeah. No, they were
especially in your
alive.
house. Okay.
They were alive people. It mainly happens at work. We do have a ghost. I named him Gary. Don't ask me why. It just seemed right. He has. I ask him to close the door, like our front door, every once in a while because like the wind keeps it, and then like just the wind just holds it there. And I'm like, Gary, just help me out real quick, and the door won't close. I'm like, thank you, you're a homie. He turns on sinks, and like my aunt is the only person there, and the sink fully like knob turned everything. She didn't turn it on. He knocks stuff over. I mean, he's friendly to me. Like him and I are besties. I'm like, I don't fuck with him. He helps me out if I need it. I respect Gary the ghost.
So your best friends are Gary the Ghost and the Rack.
Is short.
I'm just That is the information that I have on hand for as long as I've known you. Like, the only 2 people I've ever heard you refer to as bestie are this ghost and my alter ego.
Your alter ego is a pain in my ass.
Most best friends are.
That is very true. That is 100% true. I've also talked to Kate, your wife, about a lot of ghost things that have happened in your old house. How
Mhm.
she has seen things and all of that stuff.
Well, so let's talk about that house, right? So
Let's
again,
talk about it.
another that house was built in like 1950, right?
Okay.
So like, one of the fun things that I did was we had to replace a tread on the stairs, and I had a Living Dead doll of Annabelle with a sign that said "Miss Me." If you guys aren't familiar with a Living Dead doll, I still only have one, and I kept this because it was really cool. But they're essentially these, right? It's Pinhead, but all in red.
Cute.
So imagine something like that, but looks just like Annabelle. So when we were replacing the tread, I put Annabelle with the Miss Me sign in the stairs for anyone that may have to repair the stairs later to find. Thought it'd be a fun thing. But if you sat in our living room and you're watching TV in the spot that I would sit in, directly to my right is a hallway that led to the kitchen, or towards the kitchen. There's a window there. It's
Okay.
far, we tested this to make sure. It's far enough down the driveway with the house next door to us that if a car's driving, lights from the car aren't coming in through that window. Like, that's not what we're seeing.
Yeah.
But we would sit there, we'd be watching stuff, and occasionally both of us would see something move past that window. We had no idea what the fuck it was, but we just let it be.
Yeah.
There were many times in that house that I felt like I wasn't by myself. It
Hmm.
freaked me out at first, and I felt very uncomfortable. And then after we had lived there, because we bought that house in 2016,
Okay.
I think. I think we bought the house in 2016. We got married in 2017. So bought the house in 2016. So, and we just moved out earlier this year. So we were there for about 7 years.
Yeah.
After a while, like, nothing's happened, like nothing crazy happened, right? Like, nothing terrifying happened. Like, there were, like I said, I'd feel like I wasn't alone, and I got a little uneasy because of that. But other than that, like,
Mm.
especially at night when I was going to bed, but I just kind of like do my little affirmations. I'd be like, hey, uh, we have no issues. You need to leave me alone. You need to leave my wife alone. You need to let us sleep. Like,
Hmm.
shit like that. I talk out loud to absolutely nothing because it made me feel better. And yeah, we didn't have any issues. We just kind of see the whatever, and we get those feelings. And like I said, early on, it freaked me out. And then after that, I just kind of like, it was just like another thing in our house that, like, we knew about it. It was what it was. We were fine, never did anything malicious. So
Good. Good. Good.
I
Good. Good.
also do remember after we moved out of the house, when I was like going back and forth moving shit.
Yeah.
And I go there like late at night, and the house was pretty much empty, and we were in this house, and I was picking up the like stuff. Like, I also felt uneasy again in that house, like, almost like it was kinda mad at us for leaving.
It was probably pissed you guys left.
Yeah. So I remember, like, not feeling comfortable in my own home after I moved out. And weirdly enough, Kate got a package delivered to that house by accident, like, accidentally used the old address. We called one of our neighbors, we're like, "Hey, can you check, see if this and that?" The people that bought our house, who were like, they need to get this house right away because their father or whatever,
Mm.
a couple months after, like, when we went and talked to our neighbor, he's like, "Yeah, no, I they moved in, and then we never really saw them, and like, they're no one's ever really here anymore." So, like, I don't know if something happened, the ghost was pissed off and like scared them, and they just fucking abandoned the house or what. But he's like, "Yeah, they were here, they moved in, we watched them move in, we never really met the people, and we haven't really seen anyone come or go since." Like,
That's very suspicious.
right?
Which is the worst type of suspicious is suspicious.
You're a dork.
Thank
But yeah,
you.
so we had that shit. I've had that like pretty much everywhere I've lived, though. Even the house that townhouse that I had bought for the first time, the basement always kind of made me feel uneasy. And like,
Yeah.
it wasn't like a creepy basement or anything like that, but I remember my dog Havoc, who's no longer with us. He was a chocolate lab, would like stand at the top of the stairs and look down into the basement and not want to go
Mhm.
down there.
Yup.
And that always, hmm, um, go ahead.
Now, I was gonna say, anytime a child is looking at something that's not there, or an animal is looking at something that's not there, you trust it, you leave. You
Oh,
go
100%.
somewhere else.
Okay. My parents, my parents went on a cruise when I was living. So we moved around a lot after the house. Like so, my junior year of high school, I finished school that summer. We moved to Dyer, Indiana, and we
Okay.
lived there for a year. Then my dad got another job, and we moved out to a town in like the middle of fucking nowhere, Illinois, called Sterling, out west, like almost damn near Iowa.
Okay.
And I made a lot of stupid decisions, for
You
pussy,
no.
um, that I shouldn't have, and neither here nor there. The house that they bought was fucking huge. It was awesome. It had an in-ground pool. Like my dad had gotten this manager's position. It was great, and it had an attached apartment that my mom wanted my grandparents to come live in. They ended up deciding not to, and then I kind of moved in there. And then my dad got sick of my shit and kicked me out and said, "Hey, go get a fucking job and start your life," because I fell off the hood of a car, broke my ankle, was doing all sorts of things that may have seemed like I might have a bad future ahead of me. But
Scumbag Matt.
one of one of the first things that I did, they went on a cruise, and
Mhm.
I decided, hey, I'm not going to go on the cruise. I'm going to go stay here, and then while they're gone, I'm going to get a tattoo, and then I'm going to send my mom a picture of the tattoo that I got while she's on her cruise, so she can be mad before she comes back, so she's not mad at me when she gets back and finds out about it. Like let her stew in Mexico.
Yes.
I had a couple friends stay over. And I remember we're sitting there, we're hanging out, we're downstairs. And again, my dog, Havoc, at the time, is standing, or actually, maybe it was Cowboy. Cowboy was my parents' chocolate lab. So they had gotten Cowboy from a breeder, and then I went to the same breeder and I got Havoc. And I think that was later. So I think this was
Okay.
Cowboy, but we're downstairs, we're hanging out, and Cowboy's just standing at the bottom of the stairs and he is barking up the stairs. And literally, my sister, my mom, my dad, they're all in fucking Mexico. Like it's just the three of us in the house. So
Mhm.
like we're like, oh
Nope.
well. So we decide to go all hunter. Like I can't even say ghost hunter because like we grab things and like you can't hit a ghost, right? So like we were thinking like maybe intruder or something like that. And we go through the entire house. Like we're looking. My fucking buddy. I remember I go into my parents' room and I'm checking closets and everything, and I look under the bed, and he's like, "Did you look on top of the bed?" And I'm like, look on top of the bed how? Like under the sheets that are made and flat? We didn't find anything, but it freaked us the fuck out, right? So
Well, yeah.
there's that. There's obviously Havoc not liking the basement in the house there. So like kind of everywhere I go, there's something,
Yeah.
including this house. You know the story. You were part of the
I was there.
adventure. I was unloading stuff before we had moved into this house, and I'm in the garage doors open. I'm taking stuff out, I'm putting it away, and I hear, "Hey!" Turn around and I look because it sounded like it was in the garage with me, but I don't see anybody. And it's like 11 o'clock, 11:30 at night, maybe a little later, because I had to go grab shit from my house and then drive back. And it was like a half an hour drive, and I got home about 11, so it was probably about 11:30, 12.
Mhm.
So I'm like, huh. All right. So I walk out and I look, and like I'm looking down the street, both directions. I see absolutely nothing.
Love
So then I
that.
start freaking out, close the garage, pack my shit up, drive home. Tell my wife on my way home, like what happened. And now she's thinking like maybe there's somebody in the attic of the garage, or so then I'm like, I get a hold of you guys and I'm like, hey, so I want you guys to stay on the phone with me. This is what happened. I'm gonna go back to the house and do dumb white people shit and see if there's somebody in the house. I armed myself, not,
You
like,
did.
just kind of look around and make sure like there's no squatters in the house or something like that or whatever. And I did, and I had you guys on fucking Zoom call, and we're walking around the fucking house, and I'm like, let me know if you see anything behind me, and I've got the camera so you guys can see in front of me and see all the shit that I'm looking at and everything like that.
Oh, it was
Didn't
great.
find anything. Um, hmm. So that happened, and everything's kind of been cool since then. Except we went to Michigan like 4 months ago. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, you know this. We went to Michigan about 4 months ago to buy some things for my wife that
Mm,
they sell in Michigan. They also sell them out here, but she likes the product in Michigan in the place, so we went
yeah.
up there. And on the way up there, my car just started acting really fucking weird. Like it's scrolling through my fucking phone. It's calling people when I'm not touching it. Never done that before. Weird as fuck. Have no idea what the fuck's going on. Can't figure it out until we get up to Michigan. This isn't long after that, and I met my buddy Mike. We know him as Kill Bill. That's how I met him on Xbox and all that. And I've met him in person a
Mm,
couple times. He lives up where we were going, and we met up with him. And he heard the story, me telling the story on the podcast about on Creation Conversation about the ghost and everything. He asked me about it. I'm like, funny you should mention that. I might have brought it with me, and I'm gonna invite it to go with you and get the fuck out of my car because it. And I explained the whole thing to him. He's like, "No, fuck you. That's not cool." But the entire ride back, my phone worked perfectly and has not done that since. So
you really just passed that ghost along to your friend. That's wild.
I did.
It's
But
kind of
yeah, no,
fucked
like
up, man.
my whole life, like just weird, random shit. And I actually feel strangely comfortable in this house. And I have like kind of since we moved in, like oddly enough, like we're sitting here and we're looking at it and it's like, this is weird that this is our house, but also like it kind of feels like home and I feel safe here. After the initial like, "Oh, I heard somebody say my name and now I got to go look around," like I felt very comfortable in this house from almost immediately once we moved in. So
Well, that's good.
I don't lie awake at night. I don't feel like I hear things, which I did in Elgin or like what.
I see. I don't have as many stories as you, maybe because things don't want to fuck with me for some whatever fucking reason. But there's one story I'll always remember. So this house I have lived in for 20-ish years. So basically my entire life. And then my brother and sister are here. Were here too. This I don't even. I want to say I was in middle school. So how our house works is like kitchen, dining room, living room, but like it's all like no doorways or anything. You can just see straight through. So I'm in. I want to say I'm in the living room with my sister, and then my brother's in the kitchen, and all of us are just minding our own business, whatever. And a box of cereal just falls off of the top cabinet for no reason whatsoever. Me and my sister like peek up and look, and my brother's nowhere near it. He's on the other side of the kitchen, completely away from it. And it all kind of just like, we all just sat there for a second, like, now, what the fuck is this?
Like the scene in Conjuring 3 where dude like goes back in the house and then the cereal box falls over and spills everywhere.
It didn't, basically, yeah. Like, we had like a super tall cabinet at the time that like none of us could reach. Like, we would have to like stand
Well,
on
yeah,
something
you're
to like
like
get to the top.
4'3",
I'm 5'3", excuse you. Put some respect.
which is like
Uh,
4'3".
that's completely wrong. Um, but none of us were tall enough to like reach that top part, and there were other boxes too. It was just the one that fell. We still don't know why. We still don't know to this day. I also, it's not really much anymore, but I want to say like before I went to college, passing my basement to go into the like, you would have to go through the dining room to go into the bathroom, and then the basement was just there. No, again, no door, just steps. It like gives me the creeps, still kind of every once in a while, like gives me the actual creeps that like something is down there waiting to kill me. I don't know why, but it's the irrational fear. It might be because I used to be scared of the dark when I was younger. Still kind of am, but that
I mean, I
relates
feel
to
like
the building.
everyone was scared of the dark when they were younger. I don't feel like I feel like that's a rational thing.
It is mine. Mine now is because I'm scared of going blind, which leads into darkness. You know,
Yeah.
that's a whole nother can of worms that we don't have to get into right now. That's a different show. But that like those are like the main things ghost wise that have
Mhm.
happened to me. My family scaring me, many stories because they're rude, and
Right.
I am an emotional person. I was very emotional as a child. Who is surprised? Literally nobody. But my aunt would have Halloween parties every year. Every year she would go all out, do like a haunted house in her house, and get like all the neighbors involved, and the amount of times all of the kids. So we were probably in between the ages of like 7 to 13 with me, my brother, my sister, the cousins, and the neighborhood kids. We'd all just be hanging out, doing the stuff. And then my aunt, because she's sadistic, would like bring us out to the deck and tell us a scary story. And us not knowing that she locked the door or had my mom lock the door on the inside. So if we wanted to get back in, we couldn't. And have one of the neighbors in a jumpsuit and a chainsaw start chasing us around. I was love some childhood trauma. Like we all were crying, and it was traumatic.
Oh, you want to talk about trauma, huh?
Let's talk about trauma, Matt.
All right, let's see. Where do I start? Hmm. Well, let's do some not so childhood trauma for me, but just give you a sample of like the things that my mom likes to do, right?
Let's do it.
So they had a haunted car wash. My mom, my aunt, my grandma, they go through this haunted car wash where like you go through and the soap's red, they've got people in there dressed up and blah blah blah.
Yeah,
So my mom is driving. I think my grandma's in the passenger seat. My aunt's in the back. I don't know. But what I do know is my mom saw, and my grandma just got a new car and didn't really know how to work it. And they were in her car. My mom saw that the people in the car wash were like coming and checking doors and shit. So she unlocked the doors and they came up and they grabbed the door. And like my grandma also saw it and was like trying to figure out how to lock it, but she couldn't because she's used to like the old school like locks.
yeah.
So she starts freaking out, like they're tugging on the fucking door with her. My mom's laughing her ass off, thinks it's fucking
Jesus.
hilarious. So that's just like a sample of the shit she would do. She hates, by the way, she hates me telling these stories, but I've tried to explain to her like now it's kind of like a fun, fond memory, and it's a fun story to
Yeah.
tell. It's not, but we used to go trick or treating every year at her mom's house,
Okay.
and one year specifically, and like, all right, so I've talked about how Travis and I, and then my best friend John, we all went to a private school growing up because the area that we were in was bad, and my parents, you know,
Mhm.
so my mom worked a couple jobs, my dad, got his job, and they made it work so they could send us to private school, which is where I met Travis and John and all that. But like everyone except for Travis, like John's family was, but like John wasn't. But and then Travis's parents were really cool too. We're like super religious. So like we were doing it because it was the better school to go to in the area, not because like we were
Yeah.
religious. Like my grandparents are Catholic, they would go to church and shit like that, but not so we were kind of like the outcast a little bit because like again, from a very young
Mhm.
age, my mom would have me watching horror movies and everything, and it was kind of like, oh well, my buddy John would come over to our house to watch all the shit that his mom wouldn't let him watch because she'd only let him watch like Disney movies and shit. Um, at like fifth or sixth grade.
Love that.
So, one year we're trick or treating. We're done trick or treating. Horror movies are playing on my grandma's TV and blah blah blah. And my mom sees this little girl trick or treating, and then she sees a man dressed as Michael Myers, who is her father, like standing around the corner while she's trick or treating, kind of like hiding in the bushes and shit like Michael Myers would do.
Yeah.
So she goes and talks to this guy and tells him to come to the house.
Mhm.
And so he comes, they ring the doorbell. My mom's like, "Hey, can somebody get that? Trick or treaters." So I get up and I run to the door. I open the door and boom, Michael Myers is standing in my fucking doorway. And I lose my shit. Like I scream, I run back down the hallway, I go into the kitchen, I slide underneath like the island and I'm hiding. My mom's laughing. She invites the guy in. She doesn't even fucking know the guy and invite him into my grandma's house. I mean, we had a shit ton of family there, and it's an Italian family. So like I'm assuming she felt with all my uncles and shit, like she was like, all right, it'll be fine. But
Yeah.
just to like she invited me in to be like, hey, look, it's not really Michael Myers, blah blah blah. It's okay to like calm me down, but also was laughing her fucking ass off that she terrified the shit out of me. There was one time we were driving and we were going out to my grandparents. They had a cottage. The next two stories about my grandparents' cottage. But on the way out there one time, it's me, my mom, my dad's stepfather, and his mom, or and my dad's mom, and then my aunt Mary and her two daughters, and then me and my
Okay.
sister. We're all in this car. We're driving, and my grandpa starts acting like the car's dying, and he pulls over into a graveyard and says that he can't get the car started
Oh my god.
and starts like fucking with us. And then it's like, did you hear that? And my cousin lost her shit and jumped up, and like a fucking cat was like clinging to the ceiling of the car, freaking the fuck out. We're terrified. They're trying to hold in their laughter. Finally, it was like so traumatic. They're like, all right. And they got the car started and we got the fuck out of there. But this is the shit that they
Goodness.
would do, right?
Yeah.
Again, terrified of clowns. I was fucking like if I had met Tim Curry as a child, I probably would have shit my pants because Tim Curry as Pennywise the Clown in Stephen King's It is
Mhm.
still to this day one of the most terrifying things I've ever seen.
Yeah.
He was just so good and so fucking scary in it for years. I mean, till I was like an early teenager, I was still afraid of this motherfucker. So we're at my grandparents' cottage, and they had built an addition on. So the bathroom had a window vent that would let the steam outside. But
Okay.
when they built the addition on the back, that vent just kind of let the steam out into the back room. And that's kind of where everyone hung out. And there was a loft there where like the kids slept, and there was couches and the TV and all that. So that's like kind of became the family room.
Okay.
So I go to take a shower and I'm in there. Mind you, I don't know what it was, but there was like this weird thing that my grandma had in the drain that was kind of like a pinkish red, and it almost kind of looked like Pennywise's hair. And there's a scene in it where the little boy's in the shower, and it looks terrible now, but in the 90s it didn't, where like Pennywise opens the drain and comes out. And so
Yeah.
anyway, like in the back of my head, that's always in there, but like I also knew it wasn't.
Mhm.
My mom couch and goes to the vent and starts whispering lines from it into the bathroom while I'm taking a shower. She's like, it all floats down here. And I lose my shit.
I would have a
I
heart
jump
attack.
out of the shower. I wrap myself in a towel. I come out of the bathroom screaming. And my whole family's laughing their fucking ass off. They think it's hilarious. I'm damn near in tears, right? Because I think there's a fucking clown in the drain ready to fucking eat me. This is the shit that she does.
Yeah. Now, what do you plan on doing to Zoe?
I don't necessarily like she's my little princess. I don't know what. Like we'll see when she gets older, when she gets to be a little bit more of a shit. So I don't know. I have fucked with Kate though.
Now, why you gonna fuck with her when you know
Listen,
damn well she can't handle that?
I remember right after Lights Out came out, and we were living in Elgin.
Yeah, I
It
remember
freaked
this
her the fuck
story.
out. She hated it. So what I used to do is in that same hallway that I was talking about, that you look down and you could see things moving.
Mhm.
She'd be in the living room, and I'd walk to the stairs that go upstairs to our bedroom, and I'd stop and I'd just kind of look up the stairway, the same stairs that I buried Annabelle in, by the way. Um, and I just start talking to someone that wasn't there, and she would like freak out. She's like, "Cut it out! It's not fucking funny. Stop it!" And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And she goes, "I know what you're doing, and I'm sick of this shit." I'm like, "I'm just what are you talking? Hold on a second. Wait, no, it's fine. I'll talk." She's like, "I fucking hate you. Stop it. I will." So I've fucked with her a little bit as well. But oh, another thing that my mom did. We
Okay.
went to a haunted house, and I was young. It was her friend, and then it was me and her friend's kid, and then my grandma. And we were too terrified to go in the fucking haunted house. We didn't want to go, right?
Of
So
course.
My grandma said she'd sit behind with us. She didn't really want to go either. It was my dad's mom, my grandma Linda. So she's like, I'll stay in the car with them. You guys go ahead. So like my mom goes into the haunted house. My grandma said she had to get something. She got out. Now I don't know if my grandma did this or if my mom did this, but one of those two at haunted houses, I don't know. I don't think they still do it, but they used to have people just kind of like walking around the parking lot to kind of scare you at some haunted
Uh,
houses out here.
no, I was gonna say nothing I've been to, but that very well could just be
Yeah,
a
they just had like people roaming around kind of outside and like interacting with people as they're standing in line and stuff like that. Now, they went and talked to some of the people and said, "Hey, we got two kids over there in the car and they're fucking terrified," and sent them over there. So like they're at the windows, we're freaking out. We're like on the fucking floor in the back seat,
Jesus.
like holding fake fucking like Nerf guns and shit, just like scared out of our fucking minds.
Any defense,
Anything like, but
anything.
like I said, I've been watching horror movies for as long as I can fucking remember. Like
No,
I'd say from at least 5 years old, I've been familiar with Halloween and A Nightmare on Elm Street and blah blah blah. We used to go, hey kids, there used to be a store that you go to, right? And when you go to that store, they had movies. They were in these things called VHSs. They were cassette
mhm,
tapes that you'd put into a VCR and it'd play the movie. You'd have to rewind it if you wanted to watch it again.
because you're
Um, but you can go there and rent movies. Like streaming didn't exist. You know,
mhm,
you go there, you pick out some movies, you give them some money, you take the movies home, you'd watch them, then you'd have to bring them back.
yep.
So we'd go like almost every Friday, and mom always got one scary movie, and we didn't even want to go down the fucking scary movie aisle and look at like the cover art because the shit was terrifying.
Sure.
But she would, and we'd watch it, and we get scared as shit and all that. And she'd cover my eyes when they were titties, and now that's all I really want to fucking see anyway. So like,
Now you get
uh,
mad
didn't
when
re-
there's not titties.
didn't really work out for her. But I still remember like specific movies and the box art, and just seeing the box art and how it freaked me out as a child from the video store. Night of Demons with Angela
Okay.
eating like the eyeball out of the cocktail, and
Oh,
that box art still like stuck with me to this day. I will never forget that. Certain
fair.
movies and stuff like that. Jason Goes to Hell, the snake thing going through the eye of the mask, and all that with the
Yeah.
fire in the background. All these things like are burned in my brain from my childhood.
Fucking Jason X.
But yeah, no, like that was just kind of the shit that she would do. Those are really the main instances that I remember of shit that she used to do. As far as what I would do to Zoe, like I said, as of right now, I have no plan. Well, I'm debating. So I have to get up early on Friday and hang out with her because my mom's going out of town and Kate's mom's busy, so don't have a babysitter. So I've got to get up early and watch her until I have to go to work, and then Kate will watch her for the rest of the day while she's at work. And it's Friday the 13th. So like I'm debating on whether or not I'm gonna get up at like 8 in the morning and start watching Friday the 13th movies with my child. But she doesn't really pay attention. So
I think it's fine.
maybe
I mean,
with the
that's what I'll be
3-year-old.
doing while I'm at work is just AMC
Yeah.
Friday the 13th after
So
your
well,
work.
I've got the whole voodoo collection. So
Well, I know. Well, I'll be at work, so I don't have
yeah.
access to said voodoo collection. I just gotta watch AMC.
So
Yeah, it's
but
fine.
yeah, I don't really have anything planned now. But like I said, when she gets older, we'll see. She's kind of like a little shithead, and I need to, put her back in her place. Um, trying to think if there's anything else off the top of my head that I remember my mom doing that traumatized me. Because like I told her, I was like, because she after all of this started happening, and like I was again technology, I was burning DVDs to up my horror
Mhm.
movie collection before like
Of
everything was
course.
digital, and I was able to put it all there. Where
Yeah.
you go online, you download a movie through like LimeWire or fucking BearShare or whatever
Mhm.
torrent site, and then you burn it onto a disc so that you could watch it. Or I also had like a hard drive that had all the movies onto like a 1 terabyte hard drive, so I could just plug that into my laptop and watch it whenever I wanted, which was great.
There you go.
Um, when that started happening, I started doing all this stuff. She's like, you used to be terrified of this shit. I'm like, well, this is your fault. Like, you had me grow up watching all of this shit. So now, like this, all of this, all the shit that I've collected and done, it's all because of you. So, and she doesn't like them now. Like, I, I remember taking her to 2018's Halloween
Okay.
because she's always been a fan of Michael Myers, which again, my favorite horror movie character of all time, and her influence is a big part of that. Like, Freddy and Jason were way more popular than Michael was back in the 80s, 90s, and all of that shit. Like, my
Mm-hmm.
mom always loved the original Halloween and the Halloween movies 2, 4, 5, 6. Like, always loved Michael Myers.
Mm-hmm.
So when the 2018 one came out, I was like, hey, come with us, go to the movies, like let's go watch Halloween, this and that. And we did. And I remember like her talking through the movie when she was freaked out and like screaming visibly and throwing popcorn everywhere and just like not being able to take these movies anymore. We just took her to go see The Nun 2 with us.
Yep.
She is currently within the next day or two on her way to Italy for her first time, and they're supposed to go by the Vatican. We're Sicilian. Uh, the the patron saint in the
Mm-hmm.
Nun is the patron saint of Sicily. And she's like, if I see this fucking painting in the goddamn Vatican, I swear to God, like, is this a real thing? Is this like she was legit freaking out, like all of a sudden did not want to go to Italy because of this. And she's like, I better not fucking bring something back from with me. Like, it, it's enjoyable now because now I get revenge on her for all the shit that I got growing up. So
There you go. That I mean, that's like the best part is being able to enact the revenge, even though you don't necessarily mean to. You're just like, hey, you like Michael? Come see this movie. Hey, come see The Nun 2 for funsies.
oh, don't think I wasn't fucking with her. Also, when I told her we were gonna go see the Nun too, like I saw how apprehensive she was about it because like she grew up Catholic. Catholic. Like I said, my grandparents were Catholic. They would actually go to Catholic church. The only time we'd go with them was like during the holidays and shit.
Holidays, yep.
But like mom went to a Catholic school growing up and
Oof.
had nuns and all of that shit. So like that also is like part of her growing up and everything. So we're me and my sister were like, oh yeah, we want to go see the Nun because like my sister's husband isn't a huge fan of horror movies. He
Hmm.
prefers animated films over really anything else. And he
Okay.
married into our family, which I have no idea how that worked for him, but so she's like, hey, Richard won't go see this with me. I want to go see it. Will you guys go with me? And I'm like, yeah, Kate and I plan on going anyway. And then my mom's like, how come I didn't get an invite? I'm like, because the last time we took you to the movie, you lost your fucking shit and freaked out and said you can't handle these movies anymore. But trust me, if you want to go, you're more than welcome. Right. And then afterwards, of course, when she was like, oh, well, the Vatican and this and that, blah, I'm like, I egged it on and I'm like, well, mom, like someplace that old, there's surely something there. And if you're gonna open yourself up to it and you're gonna worry about it, they're gonna latch onto that. And you're definitely gonna bring something back with you. And she's like, shut the fuck up. I swear to God, I'm gonna call your father right now and tell him that we're not fucking going. So yeah, I had my fun on purpose.
Well, I mean, as you should. I mean, she made you cry repeatedly, or damn near close to tears repeatedly as a child.
Yeah.
So all's fair. I see nothing wrong with that. And see, the age difference between us, I like don't think about a lot until you're like talking about stuff from your childhood, and then I think about stuff from like my childhood. I didn't. Blockbuster was like around, but we had Family Video,
Oh,
so I
we had
still
a
had that.
local video store.
Oh shit! Okay,
This was not like a chain video store. This was like
it's just a
a
local. Sure,
local video store. And I don't
nice.
remember the name. It was something Time Video or something like that. I don't remember. I just remember it
Okay,
was next to Cox Deli.
of course that's why you would know.
KOCH Cox Deli.
That's
Yeah.
I'm. Why am I not surprised by any of that?
Specifically remember Cox Deli.
I can't stand you. But like, so stuff that like scared me as a kid, and like, because I was into like scary movies, kind of, but like again, traumatized as a child, I didn't really like anything. Now I'm, team horror movies. Thanks to you and Reek, because you guys say I don't watch movies.
You didn't.
I did. Um, but one that specifically a movie that scared me to fucking death. I still like. can't really watch it because I get freaked out, is the Blair Witch Project.
Okay.
I still, like, for the longest time, thought it was legit. I was like, oh my god, these people are fucking dead. That's crazy. Because it was like found footage. And like now I love that shit. I love Paranormal Activity, Hell House LLC. Like found footage stuff is my favorite. But Blair Witch, me and my sister were here. This is back when we had bunk beds. So my sister was on the top, I was on the bottom. And she's like, do you want to watch this? I was like, yeah, fuck yeah, I'm ready. I'm finally old enough. I spoiler, I was not old enough. I I should not have watched it. We're watching it. I'm a little creeped out here and there. But then it gets to the end when he's standing in the corner. To this day, I don't fucking like that. It scares me. I get goosebumps even thinking about it. I don't know what it is. Just him standing in that corner, not moving, freaks me out. So I start screaming. She fell asleep. Disrespectful. So then I'm screaming at the top of my lungs for my mom. I have to run down 2 flights of steps into the basement where she was doing laundry, and I'm sobbing because I was like, Chrissy fell asleep and she made me watch this movie, and I'm fucking scared. And I was like, this is traumatic. This is my sister's fault because she fell asleep. I still get mad at her to this day about it.
I also had a traumatizing experience where someone fell asleep while they made me watch a movie. It was The Notebook. And what was traumatizing is that I had to watch The Notebook.
You're terrible.
Well, here's the thing. I had been against watching this movie, right?
Why?
Just because, like, when I listen, I'm covered in horror movie tattoos, and everyone's like, "Oh, you like horror movies?" And I always joke and say, "No, I love rom coms." Like, but I really don't. I don't. Um, and I had gotten away with it until I met Kate, and Kate had sat down and done like a 12-hour Friday the 13th marathon with me, like when we were dating and everything. And like, as I don't remember if it was that or if it was something else, but it was basically like, if she does this, then I'll sit down and I'll watch something that she chooses. And she wanted to watch The Notebook. So she
Mhm.
made me sit down and watch The Notebook. And like, I heard, oh, well, you watch The Notebook and then, blah, 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 things might happen because romance. And so I'm like, all right, at least that might happen. No, I sat through that whole fucking movie, and about 45 minutes before the fucking end of that movie, she passed out and I could not get her to wake up. And I was like, this. And then I knew like I couldn't shut it off because if I shut it off, she'd just make me watch it again because I didn't fucking finish it. Right.
Yep.
Like I wasn't getting away with that.
You had to
So
stick
I had to
to it.
finish the fucking movie while she was asleep and watch like them fall in love and then die together. It was so fucking stupid.
Stop.
So fucking
It's
stupid.
sad. Hey, don't look at me like that.
The only sad part of that movie was that I had to sit through it.
You're absolutely terrible.
But
Absolutely terrible.
it's also really crazy. Like there are specific things from movies as a child. Like there's an Amityville movie. I don't know which one it is. Still to this day. I think I found it once. But there is a scene from that movie burned into my brain. So I think there's one where like people are taking stuff out of the house and the stuff is possessed, and then like as they take it out of the house, like it starts fucking with their house.
Okay.
Might be 3 maybe or 2, I don't remember. One of them's a
Okay.
prequel, I think. But so maybe 3. I think 2 is the prequel. But anyway, that's not important. What's important is there is this guy whose girlfriend is like possessed and like is luring him in. She's stripping, and all she is wearing is his Letterman's jacket. And he's following her. And like, obviously, as a child, around puberty age, having seen this, very intrigued by what's going on, right? So I remember her getting into the house and she's sitting there and she has the jacket and she's getting ready to flash him. So he starts moving, and then like the floor melts and he like gets sucked into the floor and dies. And like, I don't think you ever see, you might have, I don't remember, but like that whole scene and like the floor melting and him like melting into the floor as he walked on it trying to get to her, and her sitting there with a smile on her face, burned into my brain.
That's terrifying.
Also, there's a scene in, I think the second, which I already talked about. Oh, I said it earlier. The box art, Night of the Demons.
Yeah.
where this chick shows this guy her boobs and he reaches out to grab her boobs and I knocked
Ah!
over, yeah, and her boobs turn into little hands and like grab him back and like start burning his hands.
Oh my god.
That fucked with me too. Cause like then, trust me, I'm not, never have been, but as a child, like now you're scared to touch titties, right? Cause like I don't want them to turn their little hands and grab me back. So like that burned into my brain. It took me a while to remember what movie that was from, and then I found it and resaw it and everything. The Amityville one, I'm still not sure on, but there are all these scenes from these movies that I watched randomly as a child that I probably should not have been watching that are like burned into my brain. And I remember um the Children of the Corn, which by the way, like I don't get as an adult why I was afraid of Children of the Corn as a child, because as a child I was safe, right?
Yeah.
Like you're safe until you turn 18, but I was still terrified of these little fucking Mennonite kids or Amish kid, whatever the fuck they were, running around worshiping the corn god and murdering adults. I guess maybe I didn't want my parents to die, even though my mom tortured me. Um, not physically, she didn't beat me or anything like that, just psychologically. Um,
Psychologically.
but like, it's not the original Children of the Corn. I remember it's
Okay.
four, The Gathering.
It's the fact that there's that many and
Oh,
probably
there's
more.
way more than that.
That's that's a problem. There
There's
doesn't need to be that many.
probably 9 or 10 with, like, the most recent couple that have come out.
That's so
Hold on,
absurd,
because I
and I
do remember, like,
absolutely hate it.
the original series ended at 6 because it was, Children of the Corn 666, Isaac's Return.
Oh, well, that makes sense. I mean, that they kinda had to do. They had to get to 6.
But I remember 4, I'm looking how many Children of the Corn movies there are. How many Children of the Corn movies? 4 is the one where, like, all the kids get this fever and their teeth start falling out. Naomi Watts is in it, and like they're trying to figure out like what's going on with these kids, and then obviously as the kids get sicker, then they become kind of deranged and start murdering people, and it's
Of course.
all that shit. But that is the one that I remember the most from my childhood, and yeah, that's The Gathering. So let's see. It looks like there are 9 Children of the Corn movies as of 2020. I think
But
one also just came out like
on
within the last
Shudder, yeah.
year or two. So 10, which I said 10 or 11. So there we go.
Like, take it fucking easy, Fast and Furious. Like, you don't need that many movies.
Um yeah, so it's just weird shit like that that I remember. I do have some weird stories that I can tell you about a friend of mine who doesn't believe in any ghosts or anything like that, but
Okay?
has had like it's one of those things, and I've asked him this. I'm like, how do you not believe when you've witnessed this shit? You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like, how do you have this shit happen to you and you just don't believe? He's like, I don't know, I just don't. I'm like, okay. So
Okay.
there's a haunted cemetery in our area ish around the Chicagoland area called Bachelor's Grove.
Okay.
Um, John went there with a buddy of his and told me all about this because I won't go to those places. Like, I did one dumb white person thing once. I was seeing this girl. She was a witch. She wanted to have a seance. We went to a graveyard to have a seance. Nothing happened. Thank God. That all, no, I think I was a little older. So that probably wasn't when the shit started communicating with me because I was younger and it was still happening. So, so that wasn't it. But like, she didn't know what the fuck she was really doing. Like, we were 12 or 13. She was Luckily, nothing happened. One dumb white thing, and then never again. No more seances. No more talking. Blah blah blah. I joke with Kate about bringing a Ouija board into the house, but I would never fucking do it. Though, I do feel like if it's made by fucking Mattel, not Mattel. What's the fucking
Hasbro?
yeah? Does Hasbro make the games?
I don't know.
Parker
Oh,
Brothers, maybe. I don't know.
I'll look it up while you tell your story.
But if it's made by like a manufacturing company, then it can't really be like it's like if you find an actual Ouija board, like an old school one that someone made by hand and shit. But you know, it's I guess the intent, not necessarily the medium. So anyway, John goes to Bachelor's Grove and he's telling me about all the shit that happened, like how they go to this grave and it's a bunch of children's toys around the grave, and like he kind of gave me the backstory, what this grave was, and everything. But I guess like the toys were moving as if someone was just there and had wound them up, like there was a wind up thing. So like they went and messed with it and they wound it up and it started going. And then his buddy grabbed it to stop it and he's trying to hold it and he's holding this toy and it's not stopping. It will not stop moving. He cannot get it to stop moving. So like that freaked them out. And then there was this thing
Mm.
about how like they had talked to some people and they were talking about this house that they had seen, blah, 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 and all this stuff. So they went to go look for it, and there was a well over there. And when they went there, like there was no house, but there was I wish I had him here to tell the story fully or whatever, because like I think they like talked to somebody and the person was acting weird and they were talking about the house or whatever, so that's why they went to go check it out. But they said like they walked over there and it was kind of like in the woods and they couldn't find the house, but what they did find was a big empty spot in the woods the size of where a house would be, with like no trees or anything growing there.
Mm.
And then as they were leaving, there's a guy standing in the middle of the road in
Oh,
like
Jesus fucking Christ.
a fucking like a long duster jacket, like you know, the fucking flashers jacket or whatever.
Yeah.
And John said like he's standing there and his buddy's like, what do I do? Like, you know, he's not getting out of the way, he's just kind of looking at them. And then all of the sudden they start seeing all of these little eyes, and apparently like a shit ton of raccoons like came to this guy and were just like standing next to him and like looking at them. So then they freaked out and put the car in reverse and took the fuck off and got out of there. And I'm like, and like he's trying to like explain this to me logically, like maybe this guy is homeless and he has a bunch of raccoon pets or something, but like I'm like, dude, too much
No.
weird shit for you to not be like, okay, something's up. There's this other place that they went to. I don't know where it is. I can't fucking remember for the life of me. I've asked them multiple times and it doesn't stick in my brain. But apparently there's like the set of stairs that you go down to, and there's like some fucked up message on the wall, and there's like a picture of Hitler on the wall with some
Jesus.
whatever. And you go in this door, and it's like this tunnel or whatever. And he said like his buddy had told him like when they went there, they were in there and they were walking, and all of a sudden one of their friends just like there was a barrel and a piece of wood and a chainsaw, and like his buddy walked over to the chainsaw, picked the chainsaw up, started it, and just started sawing through the wood. And they're like, "What are you doing?" And they're like, "Trying." And he's like, not responding. He's just like doing shit, and they can't get him to respond. And then once he cut through the wood, he like snapped out of it. Like, what the fuck are you doing? He's like, "What?" Are you? And like, didn't remember doing it. Um, and all this other weird shit that like his buddy. So he's like, "All right, let's go there and let's check this out." So they went there, and John told me they got down to the door and they're reading this and he's seeing all shit. And now he's kind of like, all right, you know what? Maybe we shouldn't go in there. Maybe we should get the fuck out of here. So like they turn around and all of a sudden they start hearing scratching on the other side of the door. But he's like, not like scratching at the height that an animal would be at. Like the scratching was at like the top of the door coming down the door on the other side of the door. And they booked it and got the fuck out of there.
As they should.
So, like I said, you witness all this fucked up weird shit,
And you
and
don't
then you're
believe.
like, I don't believe in this stuff.
No,
But then
that's preposterous.
he also tried to convince people for a long time he didn't believe in dinosaurs. Like it was an ongoing gag with him. So like part of me feels like he does believe in this stuff, and it's just like he's saying it as I don't know, to fuck with me or whatever. But
And he the fuck. Also, I looked it up and it is Hasbro.
okay.
So, I mean,
Whenever I think of Hasbro, I think of Transformers and GI Joe. I don't think
Ouija board.
board games. Milton Bradley, that's what I was thinking. Milton Bradley made board games. But
So
it's
did the
not them,
people
it's
in
Hasbro. So
Ready or Not. So
yeah.
maybe it was them. Maybe they created it.
Yeah. But
But I mean, like I've been in the Ouija board museum in Salem twice.
I remember.
That you feel shit in there. Oh wait, I do have another ghost story. I completely forgot. When I went to Vegas for the first time, I did go to Zach Bagan's Haunted Museum. And I've always wanted to go. Like, as shitty as the show is, I love Ghost Adventures. Like, it's a good time. And my friends and I all mock it all the time now because Zach is over the top. But like I go, love seeing all the stuff, and I did like the VIP thing so I could go into the basement. In the basement, they have a spirit box, and you go down. Yeah, I know. So like we went down, and I was by myself, but like there was like a group of people with me. We go down. You're supposed to just like I can't remember what you were supposed to say something, but I don't remember exactly what you were supposed to say. Like once you like circled the spirit box, and I'm getting ready to leave that part of the basement, and I hear my name, and I'm like, and I know, I turn to the girl behind me. I was like, "Did you say my name?" She has no idea who the fuck I am. She's like, "No, did you say my name?" I was like, "No, I did. I didn't." But like we got to experience that together, so like that was fun. But yeah, so Spirit said my name for no reason.
Say my name, say my name. When no
It
one
was
is
like
around you.
I, I like completely forgot about that until right now. It was I was a little scared the rest of the day. I mean, thankfully, like I got to meet up with people later, but I was just like, I am terrified. Don't make that face. That was the day that I met TC and Reek in person because Reek's flight didn't get until like after Rampage because that was the day CM Punk came back. I have dates, just little
Mm,
things.
yeah.
Yeah,
Things to hold on to, like the spirit box or anything else that happened that weekend that helps you remember like things that happened around it. I get it.
I would not hold that spirit box.
No, I'm not saying hold on to the spirit box. Like you hold on to the memory of that and the things that happen around there because of the memories of like going down in the spirits, talking to you, or gambling,
Yeah,
whatever else you did in Vegas
went to SummerSlam.
or who.
You know what? I think it's a perfect place to end this before you make me lose my mind. I think that was enough scary stories to tell. Nice little
We
spooky
got an
things.
hour out of it. I think an hour is a good time.
Yeah, nice little spooky podcast.
And if you hear this and you have your own stories and you want to share them with us, you guys can always, comment. You can hit us up and tell us your scary stories. You record a TikTok and tag Katie in it. Hit me up and I'll give you her address.
No, you
Because
don't know my address.
yeah, I know we talked about that when you almost died before the podcast, and I was like, "What am I gonna do? Who am I gonna contact?"
I didn't. In retrospect, I didn't almost die. I was coughing because I've been
And then you
sick.
said, I'm dying," and I said, "Please don't die because I don't know where you live and I don't know who to call to let them know, and I can't just sit here on the call with you." I'm like, What do I call the police in your area and be like, hey, do you know so and so or the people that own this, and like have them get a hold of your aunt and uncle to call your mom, and then I just gotta sit here and wait for your mom to show up and be like, oh, I didn't know what to do. I'm sorry. Do I do I leave the call and pretend like I wasn't here? Because that's not gonna seem suspicious if they go back and check like you know, I'm just sitting here and I'm
My
like,
camera's
oh
like
fuck.
still recording.
And well, we didn't
You're
get it on the recording. We said we should have. So now I'm rehashing
oh,
it. See?
that's right. Listen, this hour, I don't even know what has happened. It's been a blur, but in a fun way, in a spooky way. So I thank you, Matt, for telling these spooky little stories of yours and the trauma that you went through as a child, thanks to your mother and relatives, all your relatives basically at this point. For more horror stuff and just other stuff you do, tell them where they can find you.
All right. If you guys are interested in the spooky, I don't know if you can see it behind me. There's this thing hanging. It's got like the Amityville Horror House and a little chainsaw dude, and it says "Getting Off." Getting Off is the number one horror podcast on Pornhub. You can find it on Twitter at Getting Off and Linktree/Getting Off. And that'll get you all of the episodes that we have done. They're available on YouTube. If you go to the Twitter, the pinned tweet at the top of my page not only has everything that we have done for Getting Off, but everything that we did for the Havoc Hour that was horror related as well, with me, Katie, Reek, TC, Justin, anyone that came along and joined us. It's all on a thread there. It's all available for you. You can check that out. I still have to add the latest episode of Getting Off to that thread. But the link tree will get you to all of the stuff that is Creation World where you can find that. Hopefully, I can con Travis into putting the audio up that we've been talking about for like a month now. So you will be able to listen to it in audio form here very soon. We have 19 episodes
It's 18 or 19. I don't remember how many.
available now. Our most recent one, me, Katie, Reek, and Justin sat down and fantasy booked what we would like to see from the Halloween franchise once the rights are sold and a new production company takes it over. And we talk about everything from Alaska not being real to who are the corresponding Harry Potter characters in the Halloween franchise.
Oh yeah.
We talked, continuing the curse story. We talked found
All
footage, Michael
right.
Myers, Paul Rudd. We talked a whole bunch of fun shit. So you guys should go check that out. We had a blast doing it, and I think you will enjoy it. If you like wrestling, I do that too. Um, at Matt Ritter on Twitter, all your wrestling shit. Also, kind of a combo of both. At smackinitraw on Instagram, Blue Sky, Threads, and TikTok at Smacking It Raw, no G, Smacking It Raw. Um, and that'll get you a little bit of everything from me on those social platforms for both Getting Off and Smacking It Raw. You can follow me there as well.
Yeah, and I'm always over there, so you can, if you go there, then you'll probably find me too, because,
Katie has not missed an episode of Getting Off yet.
and I will not.
Every other Sunday, like next Sunday, not this Sunday, because we just did one, 11 p.m. Central Time. Twitch.tv/creationworld, youtube.com/creationworld, facebook.com/creationworld.
There you go. And even though they know how to get here, but you can follow me on Twitter at CaterWrestling13, the link tree in my bio to all things ShElite Showcase. Obviously, twitch.tv/ShElite Showcase and youtube.com/ShElite Showcase, where you can find the normal weekly show, 6 p.m. Eastern-ish, give or take. It's like 6:30 sometimes, but it's fine. And if you're here, which this is the patreon.com/ShElite Showcase, we appreciate you for giving us that month, for supporting us. Please, thank you. We appreciate it. Next month will be me and Justin from Get Your Podcast talking about all things music. So thank you, Matt, and your creepy ass smile.
You're welcome.
All right. Bye-bye.